Hello, welcome to another Legacy Enchantress video. This is Spatula of the Ages. Recording for the first time in a while, and especially off of Twitch, but I do think I'm going to try to start recording these more on YouTube, since Twitch, they just kind of disappear after a while, and obviously a lot less useful for any future prospective Enchantress Legacy players. So the version that I'm playing today is January 17th, 2020, and Theros Beyond Death is legal on MTGO. As an enchantment-themed set, obviously, like most Enchantress players, I was very interested in keeping an eye on what was coming out for the set. And really, I am a little disappointed, but not entirely surprised, that they seem to have backed away a little bit in power level compared to the last few sets. There's really not as many powerful cards, aside from Breach through the Underworld or whatever it's called. But there were a couple cards that were interesting, I think, for Enchantress. The two that interest me the most are Destiny Spinner, which I think is going to be playable in many different versions of the deck. Probably as a 2-of from my initial testing, because she is a great Green Sun Zenith target, so you don't need to run 4 of her to get a lot of use out of her. But she dramatically improves Chalice matchups, nullifying it completely. She's pretty good against control decks. Obviously, she herself can be killed by Swords to Plowshares or even Lightning Bolt. So generally I would recommend running Sterling Grove with her, and Sterling Grove in general I think is just become a little better in the environment. A lot of Abrupt Decay has kind of fallen by the wayside, as many people main deck Veil of Summer, but you're seeing a lot of post-board Disenchants and a lot of post-board Force of Vigor from a lot of the Dredge or Hogak matchups that would normally, you could win with just an Elephant Grass, but then if they have Force of Vigor, you're dead. So Sterling Grove in general getting better and works well with Destiny Spinner. She does a few other things. She's a 2/3, so she's a decent blocker against many attackers in the format. A lot of the smaller ones that chip away your life total. And she's also a kill condition on her own, which is very relevant. So being able to win the game out of nowhere when you have a fair bit of mana and mana ramping enchantments in the mid to late game is pretty great. She can also just send an elemental to kill a planeswalker, and the elemental does have trample and haste. The haste obviously mainly just being relevant in case you accidentally targeted a land you put into play this turn, but the trample being pretty good. The other card that I'm interested in from the new set is Omen of the Sea. So this has Flash, which I think a lot of people underestimate the value of, but we'll get to that in a minute. Mainly what it does is it's almost like a Ponder, right? You scry 2 and then you draw a card. So you're seeing up to 3 cards. Okay, so Ponder's 4. But then you can sacrifice it for 3 mana later on to get an additional scry. And obviously it being an enchantment means that it works well with your Enchantresses. So this version of the deck is pretty experimental and very different from a lot of versions that I've previously played and that generally, as an Enchantress player, you might be used to. The first thing to notice is that of the Enchantress core cards, we are only running Argothian and Utopia Sprawl. We're not running Enchantress's Presence or Wild Growth. The reason that we are not running Enchantress's Presence is we're running Estra's Invocation in that slot. It's the same mana cost. It's a little bit more situational, but this version of the deck has many cards that work well with it. The key difference being that it's blue. It doesn't require mana commitment to continue drawing cards every turn. It can also impact the board by copying Elephant Grass, or post-board Doomwake. And it draws a card immediately as well. So even though it can't draw as many cards in a turn as Enchantress's Presence could theoretically, it's more consistent in getting you some form of card advantage, and it being blue means obviously it works well with Force of Will, so that's the next thing to notice. But first, though, wild growth, right? So we're not running the extra wild growth. We're just running the Utopia Sprawls for the color fixing as much as the ramp, because we are running some heavy blue and then some black post board. But we're not running wild growth because we're not running as many actual Enchantress effects, and the Enchantress effects are what make the wild growth and Utopia Sprawls very strong. So without 8 Enchantress effects, or more, most versions run more, really, with Green Sun Zenith, it just doesn't make as much sense to run the ramp. And this version also doesn't necessarily need the ramp as much, because it has more turn 2 plays. So this version runs Force of Will. Don't really need to explain much about Force of Will, obviously a format staple, and gives us an angle of attack that we didn't have before. And I also expect to be somewhat advantageous in that most people won't expect a Force of Will if you play, turn 1 Snow-Covered Forest, Utopia Sprawl. Even if you do name blue, it's very unlikely that they'll be expecting a Force of Will, and so we'll rarely play around it. Counterbalance. So the mana cost is a little awkward on Counterbalance, but we are running 2 basic islands and 4 Misty Rainforests. I'm running 4 additional fetches. Honestly, probably one of them at least should be Prismatic Vista, since the only time it would be worse is post-board if I need the Bayou. But since this version is a little experimental, I'm a little loath to be buying Vistas, which otherwise I don't generally think are very good for most lists of Enchantress. But it's something to note if you're going to try it out. I would play at least 1 Vista, maybe 2. I don't think I would cut all these other green fetches for Vista, because then you're not really able to splash black as effectively. And I'll get to the reason for the black splash when I get to the sideboard. So the only real kill conditions main deck are Words of Wind and Emrakul. The Emrakul is the real kill condition, obviously. Words of Wind is there to be a mid to late game stabilizer, a de facto win condition, so you can try to force it through with Force of Will or Counterbalance backup and just bounce their entire board while you're bouncing your cantrips or your Elfin Grasses to reset their clock, etc., etc. So let's talk about the cards that work with Estra's Invocation. So Omen of the Sea, obviously. Ground Seal, still pretty strong in the format, even without Wrenn and 6. The grindier blue decks are now played in Mystic Sanctuary, so Ground Seal stops that. Most of the Delver decks are on Dreadhorde Arcanist. Ground Seal stops that. Occasionally it's relevant against Reanimator, and then some other random stuff as well. Abundant Growth for the color fixing, and because it's cheap. Mystic Remora as a one-off. This card is very situationally strong, so if you haven't played this before, Kilo upkeep 1, like Elephant Grass. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 4, which generally is going to be well outside their ability to pay for it. So you can play it early game if you have several land drops, and just basically slow the game down while you develop your mana, because generally we're better in the mid to late game than other decks. It can be very powerful against combo decks because you are a lot more likely to draw into your Force of Wills with a Mystic Remora out. And it combos with Invocation, because that way, like Elephant Grass, you can reset your cumulative upkeep clock. Which, if it's not clear, so you put the upkeep on the stack below the flicker, then you flicker, it comes back, it has 0 age counters on it, and you don't have to pay for the upkeep of the copy. If the original dies and you have 2, they can start copying each other, and then you're just not paying any upkeep at all. The last little oddity in the deck is Reality Assets. So this is, besides Words of Wind and Elephant Grass, our only real board interaction element. So what this does is it has Vanishing 3, which is like Fading but fixed, quote unquote. When it leaves the battlefield, the enchanted permanent controller sacrifices it. So what that means is it can't be Abrupticate or Disenchanted. It's blue, so it goes well with Force of Will. You can copy it with Estra's Invocation, and then the following upkeep you flicker the Invocation, The reality acid copy leaves play and the permanent gets sacrificed. So that's the main trick. With Words of Wind, you can bounce it. If they don't realize what's going on, they'll lose their permanent. More likely, it's just a way of making sure you bounce the permanent you want with Words of Wind rather than the permanent that they choose. Really, it's the invocation synergy that is making me experiment with this. The downside is, compared to Oblivion Rain, it's not very good against Sneak and Show because it cannot copy the thing that gets showed in. So, matchups that I expect to be worse with this deck. Probably Sneak and Show. We only really have the Force of Will and Counterbalance against the Show and Tell element. Against Sneak Attack, we still have the full set of Elephant Grasses. And we do have a main deck Emrakul, right? So we have that also against Show and Tell, if they're not putting in Omniscience. But they generally are built to play around counter magic, especially now they're often splashing green for Veil of Summer. So I think that matchup will be worse. I think Death and Taxes will be a lot worse. Counter magic's very situational against them. We're losing a lot of board interaction. Our only kill conditions really being Words of Wind and Emrakul means that we're a little weak to a Phyrexian Revoker on Words of Wind. Reality Acid can be stopped by Mom. The plus side, we're not as weak to Flicker Wisp and Rishon Port because we're not running Wild Growth in addition to the Utopia Sprawls. And Omen of the Sea means that we can respond to a port activation on a Utopia Sprawled land by putting in an Omen of the Sea and still getting to use our mana. One of the instances in which I was talking about the Flash, I think, is underrated. So, let's see, what else do we think is going to be worse? I'd say those are the big ones. So, the board is even more experimental than the main deck, because I am kind of guessing about what's worse and what's better. But, so against the fair decks, we've got Destiny Spinner. Against the grindy fair decks, we'll bring in 2 Destiny Spinners and 2 Veil of Summers, and replace 1 Utopia Sprawl with a Carpet of Flowers. Against Delver decks, we've got Carpet, Plague, possibly Doomwake Giants. Against the Death and Taxes decks, we've got Plague, Doomwake Giants. Eldrazi Stompy is also picking back up again, and these 3 are also good against them. So I got 2 Doomwakes and 1 Plague because I want the additional kill conditions and the blockers. But without the Wild Growth, it's not necessarily as fast to ramp up to Doomwake mana. So I want the copy of Plague. And obviously we can copy that with Invocation as well. So sometimes it will make sense to name something like Soldier rather than Human with Plague, because that hits both sides, unlike Plague Engineer. And then with the copied one, you can sometimes name Human, and then if you lose the 1 Argothian, or you had a chump block with it, it's fine, because next turn you'll name something else, and you can play future Argothians without them being instantly killed. Against the Ancient Tomb decks, we've got 2 copies of Back to Basics. As well as the Words of Wind is quite strong against those decks, because when you can start bouncing permanents, they often have 1 or 2 maybe buffer permanents, and then they have to start bouncing their land drops, and without their land drops they don't do anything. Reality Acid is also quite strong against them. Against combo decks, we've got a couple Veil of Summers, a Surgical and a Fairy, and 2 Mindbreak Traps. I think this might be a little bit heavy on the anti-combo elements, but we'll see. I am expecting a fair amount of Breach decks. Again, we'll see. The main deck Emrakul should also help us in that matchup. Okay, that's enough explanation. Let's get into a league. So, the other cards that are potentially interesting from this set for Enchantress. Clothis, possibly. This one doesn't have color. Let's find one that lets us sort by color. Not that one either. So Klothys is 1 green, 1 red, 1 colorless, enchantment creature, legendary. He or she, I'm not sure, are a god. So part of that whole cycle, so indestructible. Devotion, 7 red and green. We'll keep this. We've got Brainstorm, turn 2 counterbalance, and Force Will back up. And again, with this version, it'll be very easy to find something to make Invocation live. Copying counterbalance is not the best, but it's not worthless either. That's fair. They would probably think I'm on some weird RIP Helm build based on this hand, I think. We don't have any true Enchantress pieces, and everything is blue. The Heath is a little bit of a give. This is probably Grixis Delver. I was just thinking maybe I should have main phase fetched, because if it's Grixis Delver, they could be playing Stifle. So I'll go ahead and just crack the land now. I guess it could be some form of combo. Either way, we'll just wait a turn on this. Brainstorm, obviously, end of turn. We'll go for the Brainstorm Shuffle once we hopefully have some more information about what this person is running. They could be on, yeah, I don't know, they could be on Ant or TES. We have Double Force. A lot of them are main decking Veil these days, so that could be rough. Okay, Tarmogoyf. I think we actually want to counter that. Grass is not very good against Tarmogoyf. So we'll get rid of our Invocation. Okay, so not a combo deck. Probably one of those like weird mid-range 3 or 4 color Delver decks. Go for the Brainstorm. Against the start, let's get rid of the grasses. Against a fast Delver start, or more like true. Oof. Oof. Alright, let's just get rid of some land, I guess. What are you thinking about doing here? Alright. Because of the Force of Will, I'll play that out. So if we find a 5th land, our Force of Will It's online, although to be daysable. In this version, it is worth remembering that you can save land drops because of Brainstorm. Unlike most Enchantress lists, there's no reason really to hold back on land drops except to guard against like a K command or something, but that's not seeing much play these days. Now, I can't protect this from an edict or something, so I'm going to crack first, and because I'm going to get a forest, so I'll save the Misty. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to hold priority in case they do have an edict, so that I can at least cycle one grass off the Argothian. If they force a will this, can't do anything about it. Interesting. I was going to say Spell Snare would be the only thing that wouldn't be card disadvantage, but I forgot about Dread in the Lock. So against this deck, obviously the Veil of Summers are going to be pretty good post-board. You know, people I've seen complain about Veil of Summer, but I think that's pretty ridiculous. You know, if people are willing to play Drown in the Lock, Thoughtseize, Force of Will on the same deck when people are playing Veil of Summer, then obviously the problem really isn't Veil of Summer, it's that blue and black are just so much better. That could be game, since we haven't really drawn anything here. Things not looking great. We'll save the Brainstorm, I suppose. We can't really capitalize on it right now anyway. So we're on a 5-turn clock? Really, it's probably more like a 4-turn clock. So I can next turn make another food token, and the following turn tax. I think they have a Drown in the Lock, and they're thinking about whether to use it on this Brainstorm. It's interesting. Like, obviously they're denying me my shuffle. I'm still getting card advantage, I suppose. Unless they've got Stifle. These decks are wacky. Stifle with Oko. Days with Oko. What a world. Guile is going to be too slow at this point. I'll take the other Omen. They're pretty limited on mana. I'll wait till next turn, because this turn they'll make a food token. And the following turn they'll try to attack with 2. And that's when we can get some actual use out of the grass. So should we try to see if we can find an Argothian this turn? I don't need the Utopia Scroll. Counterbalance, it's not the worst. Wish we could cast it this turn. I think we have to play to the board, so. Alright, it's an interesting draw. One of our invocations is gone. I have 3 more to make this reality acid useful. I need to think about whether we want to upkeep Scry or not. I don't have 3 mana. I think we don't want to spend the mana because we're probably going to spend 4 mana on this. Like, we've got plays for this turn, so. This is a blind flip, I think. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Oh, it's a very mixed blessing. Oh no, it's not a mixed blessing. It's just good for them. Need to find, like, an invocation and another grass to not die. I do feel good about our post-board prospects here. Do they run any basics, or can we just, like, kill them with back to basics? I wonder what we'll take out. Probably, I was gonna say, normally maybe I'd take out Emrakul and bring in Dumax, but against Oko, that's a bad proposition. So, since they decided to not just attack for 6, we do have a chance, or a better chance. We had a very remote chance if they attacked for 6. We have a much better chance now. All this does is buy a turn, but that's better than dying. Okay. If we're on the play, I think maybe we can cut at least one grass for Veil. We didn't see anything. If they're on Sultai, they might not even be on Dreadhorde Arcanist. We didn't see anything that Groundsel would be good against. Try to Utopia Sprawl for the card vid. I'm not sure if we also want the extra sprawl or not. I think back to basics is pretty good. Reality Acid might be too situational against them. Too slow. What about Words of Wind? I'm not sure Words of Wind is great. It also doesn't pair very well with Back to Basics. Funnily enough. I like a Destiny Spinner. I do have Oko, but if we play her a little conservatively, we can get some use out of her at least. Plague is debatable. Seal Primordium's not necessarily the worst, but I don't think it's better than anything we've got going on here. I think Remora is fine. Good against the cantrips. Counterbalance is fine. This is the kind of deck where we've got the same basic curve, so even blind counterbalance is pretty decent on average. I think we'll run it like this. We got turn one into Abundant Growth. If we draw a light blue source, we can go turn two Counterbalance. Even if we draw a green source, we've got Abundant Growth into Back to Basics or Invocation. I think we've got enough to keep for sure. Okay. Two more draws to find a land. That actually works okay, I guess. It's not ideal. We'll play around days. We'll name blue so that we can counterbalance if we want to. There's an argument for actually holding this back because of Wasteland. Well, let's make them use Force of Will on a card that would be a mixed blessing for us. We'll do it this way so we can put the sprawl in this forest as well. Play this one around days. Now, if they have a daze, they could daze this, of course, just to get their trout back, which is fine. We're still up. And if this sticks, then our grass becomes a lot better. 2 Force of Wills down. That's good. If they don't have a Wasteland here, we're gonna be in a good spot. If they do, okay, I don't. Because now we've got 6 mana, so we can just double Invocation. If we find a forest, we can grass. Forest? Alright. Accidentally sixed, just out of habit with Enchantress, but I didn't want to do that because if they end up turning Assassin Trophy, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Okay, luckily that's not much pressure. And now we're gonna draw 3 cards on our turn and have a grass. It's pretty good against this particular hand that they've got. I'm just going to keep stacking here, obviously, because of Wastelands. And then again, Assassin's Trophy, but I do have Force of Will for Assassin's Trophy, so. There's our Veil. So I'll start with the Invocation, copying Abundant Growth on here, so that I can also play the Counterbalance. Or we could Omen, and leave Burning the Storm open, and Veil of Summer. Okay, let's do that. Those are both pretty good. I think I actually like Invocation better, so... Actually, maybe that means I'll protect it. So this is what you want from a Delver player. You want them to have multiple threats, so that grass is maximized. The most difficult hands for us to deal with are ones that are just like 1 threat, especially at turn 1. That's pretty good. Delver. Okay, that's quite good. We might just jump block here to save ourselves the life. Could be the difference of a turn. We're going to draw tons of cards anyway. We're going to find another land, so what I want to find is a second grass. Okay, I'll take that so that I can jump as well as draw cards. You know what? I should have done the math. We might have actually been in Emrakul range if I had copied scrolls. What do we have? 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with the land, yeah. Could just cast Emrakul this turn. So we'll start with our Gothian. We'll play grass. We'll copy it with invocation. So Destiny Spinner is the only one I'm not quite sure about. They could have taken some number of Okos out. They would probably only run like 2 Fatal Pushes. Those would come out for sure. Not necessarily sure for what, but on the draw, the 4th grass might be good. Maybe I need the 4th grass more than the Remora. Maybe I need it more than the Spinner, actually. It's a little slow, and we've got a lot of land. But we've also got grass to buy time and 2 things they have to answer, so we'll keep it. I'm going to lead off with a fetch, because if I draw an island or a Misty, I could opt for the counterbalance if I want. Or if I'm forced to, if they Thoughtseize this turn and take Gothian. Like if they ponder into a Thoughtseize, for example. They're just going to play a Goyf, it looks like. Sylvan. Okay, that's pretty scary. Now I wish I had had the Destiny Weaver, because Destiny Weaver could take advantage of a lowered life total. I'm not going to give them a chance to just draw into a daze here. So we are going to jam. What are we going to jam, though? We'll jam the Argothian. No, we'll draw the counterbalance, because if they do have the daze, I'd rather lose the counterbalance. I can't do that. I'm an idiot. Alright, and now I've lost my... I don't know why I thought I could play counterbalance here. But I cannot. Keep at least 1 card. Both, okay. That doesn't necessarily mean they're good cards. Because of Brainstorm, obviously. So, I might just take the Abundant Growth here. And I foolishly played out my fetch. Because I thought I could play counterbalance. So that could be a very big mistake. Nothing gross. So that's a mixed thing. It means that they're probably going to go for a fast kill here, which means they're probably pondering into a land and Delver. No, they missed a land drop. And they didn't shuffle either. That's really interesting. That's a very good draw. Really wish I'd kept in that Destiny Weaver now. Just rip it and win. Not this turn, but like the following turn. It's okay. I'm surprised that they took the grass right now. Okay. What is a fast clock? Why did they not make the land drop last turn? To get force of will, I suppose. It's very awkward. We could have cast the counterbalance if not for my mistake. We'd have a counterbalance and an additional card. Or they'd be down whatever force of will they have. Position's not the worst with the Veil, but it would be a lot better if I hadn't fucked that up. Or if one of those two had been like a Vista, that also would have been, you know, a big difference. Probably the Heath would have been a Vista. Okay, Delver. Looking for grass here. Double knife. Alright, well that's lethal. Okay, well I guess that's a trap. Gives us something, I suppose. There we go. Hopefully they don't have Abrupt Decay plus, like, counter magic. Oh, there's counter magic. I can't Thought Seize us anymore, so that's nice. And they can't fetch and have Force of Will at this point. I don't know if I really would have kept that extra card, just because it could. Being at 2 cuts off a lot of things. But they're very close to just closing it out. So we'll see. It really depends. We could theoretically get them with this back to basics if they don't have Abrupt Decay plus whatever. Well, we know they have the Drown on the Lock, so. Ugh. Hopefully the top card is a 2. It is in fact a useless land. Drew a lot of lands this game. So we're basically dead. In fact, we are dead, right? Because then we're going to just draw a fucking land for the turn. They've got a fucking counterspell on hand. Of course they do. And yeah. Oh, wait, actually, hold on. We can still do this. Because we have back basics Alpha Crest. They've only got one spell in hand. Hopefully it's not a daze. A daze would be very problematic for us. However, they are 2 land drops away from just winning. One land drop away from just winning. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Pretty far away from using that. Well, hopefully. Right, they shuffled away. I was thinking that they're library locked, but of course they have that. So please don't find a land. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They probably have 11 lands left in the deck. It's quite likely one of these top 3 is a land. They can't use a fetch, actually. So, wait. That gives us a lot better odds. They probably had like 3, 4 outs there and found it. So after they needed to find the fetch off the one new card they saw. That's really frustrating. Especially, given the griping. Back to basics was really good there. I feel like with miracles, I guess it's a bit of a cyclical thing. With miracles dropping back to basics and like Chalice Stompy decks being a lot worse now against Oko, a lot of the Delver decks aren't even trying to play around non-basic hate. Obviously, the back to basics are mainly there for the. So we keep this. Our Force of Will is not active, but we've got a turn 1 guy, I'll turn 2 Arco Thune if we drop blue card. Force of Will is live. Force of Will is live. I'm not going to protect this. I'll save it for the Argothian. If people were still running Narset, I'd save it for that, but Oko, the good thing for us is that Oko has kind of driven out Narset from the format because she's really bad against him, because you just make an Alec and kill her very easily. And then she's just a 3-mana impulse that sometimes misses. Alright, well, I was pretty sure I would back it up before, but now I absolutely will. I like Force of Will because you can use it defensively to improve your game against combo decks, which Enchantress badly needs. Historically, very weak combo. And you can also use it defensively against this type of situation to get your Enchantress through. And then you can pretty quickly recoup the card disadvantage. There's an argument for holding this for next turn. The argument, I mean, to do it on their turn, basically to cost them a turn. The other argument is, of the 3 to 4 cards I could see, I could draw 1 mana thing and cycle another card, but it's probably just better to let them waste a turn here. This is the 4-color one. Supreme Verdict, Jace. Sure. In response to this, I will Omen. Just to make sure they don't. I don't know why they would force will it, but I wish I did. That's exactly the card that would have rewarded just playing it on my main phase. Don't need 2 lands for sure. Do I want 1 land? Not really. That's sorely tempting. I'm going to try to avoid playing that non-basic. I'm going to start with the Abundant Growth into Counterbalance. Getting Counterbalance against them is quite good, again, because we share so much of the same curve. On the other hand, Reality Acid on Jace is pretty good also. And make sure I use my curve more. So I do like Reality Acid against these types of decks, because like, okay, he's playing Teferi, right? So if this was Oblivion Ring, he could just bounce it, but you can't bounce this, because when it leaves play, it dies, regardless of how it leaves play. So if they kill the Argothian here with the Supreme Verdict or something, I don't really care. I don't even really know what these Miracles, or whatever the hell they're calling them, are playing these days. I know there's a split between the Ice Vein and Accumulated Knowledge belts, but otherwise they're generally running like 2 to 3 of Teferi, Oko, and Jace. And I know Entreat is generally replaced Mentor, which would make Gaddock better if we were running it, but we're not. Okay, I'm no longer going to play around back to basics on the off chance that they run it. So, let's lead off with the Argothian. They shuffled with Plunder, so they just got a random card off of it. I'm fine with that. Let's start killing their lands. If this resolves. It does not. But I gotta draw a card. So that's good. So we've got 4 cards in hand. They've got 1. They've got a Jace. We've got an Enchantress. I think our position looks pretty decent. Pretty decent. And we do have a reality asset on there, Jace. No. The best thing for them would be like a Teferi or an Oko here. Oko might be worse, because then we'd have to start playing to the board. Okay, now they are tapped out. I don't think they'll be bringing in back to basics here. These are probably all the non-basics they're running. Well, plus like a sanctuary or two. They have too many basics for that to be a good strategy, I think. So once again, we will lead off with an Argothian. I think we will... Let's see. Yeah, let's get our counterbalance out. That backfired because we drew all blue spells. No point in giving them that information. We don't run any 6s. Firing this off. Let's see if it hits. Damn. Fairy would be very awkward. That's reasonable, I suppose, since reality acid and all. You'll be left with a Jace and 2 cards in hand. A lot of mana. I have a lot of mana too. I have a counterbalance, an Omen, and a pretty good hand. Assuming, and a Force Will, assuming I can find an Invocation or an Urgathu. I'm actually going to copy Abundant Growth rather than Omen so that I can have Brainstorm open for counterbalance purposes. They have the Force of Will and they're thinking about it. Looks like it. Might as well. Could be another Force of Will, I suppose. Now, counterbalance and Invocation versus Jace. What we do need to watch out about at this point is a random Entreat. So I want to find words that win since our reality acid is gone. Yeah, I'm not going to spend my brainstorm on this. Yeah, I want to find something. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm gonna, if they have Entreat, Force of Will is an out. Sanctum can be another out, but only if we have the Sprawl out ahead of time. We could always use more blue here. shoot. I need to turn off that auto yields. No, I can't. Alright, got lucky. I really want to draw that though. That's annoying. We had Force of Will or any of Earth's free drops. I suppose in fairness, at this point it's just the two locations on the Wards of Wind. There's the three drop. Alright. Oh, that's annoying. I think they miscalculated. If we have to win this turn, or have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We would make a chump blocker, plus a couple grasses. It's actually reasonable. Well, we're definitely copying either grass or Omen. If we get Omen, we could have 2 grasses. Yeah, we really need to find an Argo soon, so I think that's all we have here. Ugh. There's 3 left in the deck. I've seen a lot of cards. Okay. I feel like we had a pretty... I mean, yeah, there's 3 left, right? Strange. Alright, we don't want to get to the stage of the game where we need grass. Jimmick's really bad against Oko. Yeah, I think that's it. Turn 1, Brainstorm Lock. No thanks. Alright, that's pretty good. Get rid of Words of Wind. It's a late game card. We'll start with Mystic Remora. Other hand. Yeah. If we start with Remora... No, we'll start with Abundant Growth. I think you want to have at least 3 land drops to be able to keep Mystic Remora around long enough to get real value out of it. And we might have that. We might not. I shouldn't have led with the... I should have led with the Verdant since I was getting into Forest. We'll lead with the Destiny Spinner. Can't be spell pierced. And next turn we can Argothian into Mystic Remora. I'm going to go ahead and get the truck. Not sure that I can spell pierce this. I'll still get the card advantage off of it. So ground seal we really could have used last game before they had all these snapcasters. Alright, I guess we're on a clock, technically. Make it an Omen because we really want to hit their land drop this turn. Do you think they're holding up a veil? That's possible. They really brought it in. Alright. Let's look for another force, I suppose. Well, that's not it, but it does have the land we want. Of course, the next card was the force we needed. Okay. I guess we have to double block next turn anyway. So we get our land drop. Alright. I don't know if it makes sense to have Veil just for 4 Force of Will. I guess there's Reality Essence, so it's 5 cards that it's relevant against. Doesn't seem great. But maybe it's like a one-off. I really wanted that last turn, actually. So far, Words of Wind has been weak. I kind of suspected that going in, but I don't really know what else to run in that slot. I mean, I guess we could just main deck back to basics. And just rely on the Emrakul, but Emrakul is also a little weak in this version. I'm running it largely because I think there'll be a lot of breach decks, as well as Hogak and Sneak and Show. But maybe that should just be a sideboard slot, but then what do those two things become in terms of actual kill conditions? Without Sterling Grove, relying on Destiny Spinner seems weak. Splash white instead of black, play Sterling Grove. But losing the Doom Wakes post board against a lot of decks seems significant. Alright, I'll keep this. We're going to have a lot of dig. You know, we've got a dead card and we've got a fast start. Too early for that. We've got plenty of land. And it's more land. Fun, fun, fun. Karn? Urza? What's it gonna be? Jesus, okay. I guess I could draw Counterbalance. I'm not sure how relevant it would be at this point. I don't think we're likely to win this coming turn, so I think that might be it. Really needed that force will earlier. Let's go to game 2. Okay, clearly Elephant Grass is going to be bad. I'm not sure Ground Seal's doing anything in this particular matchup, and I think in general just Words of Wind is not going to be good enough. They've got too many free things to recast. Back to Basics is going to be very strong. Seal of Primordium. I think Destiny Spinner is going to be good at neutering Chalice. Mindbreak Trap is going to be strong. Voila, I suppose. Does increase our blue count. That's good. The 4-drops of Mindbreak Trap also can make Counterbalance better here, since otherwise that might be a bit weak. Not being able to hit Karn or Urza. Okay. We have Force of Will. We have Acceleration and Enchantress. Even though we've got a dead card in hand, I think that's good enough to keep. We will name Blue. I'm actually not going to force a turn 1 Chalice. I'm less concerned about that than I am about Urza or Karn. They're actual haymakers. threats. Those are the things I'll prioritize. And Chalice, I don't care about. What the fuck is Guardians? Okay. Why aren't you activating it? I don't understand that. Well, we have to counter that. We wouldn't necessarily have to counter that if we, had Emrakul in our library. I'm actually going to use the green. Well, alright, fine. Then why did I have the green? I don't know. Alright. I can actually hard cast the Mindbreak Trap. One thing I like about Mindbreak Trap right now is it gets around Veil of Summer, because it doesn't say counter the spell, it just says exile any number of spells. Just on the chance that they're running something to kill my Abundant Growth, I'll get an island, so I'm not stuck without blue mana. Once I find a Brainstorm, I can get rid of this Emrakul and feel safer against these milling effects. I'm a little loath to let them know about Mindbreak Trap, but we can't let the Urza resolve, I suppose. Can we? I mean, we can't kill the Urza, but we can seal the Primordium, the token, if it becomes a threat. On the other hand, it's 5 mana to activate him. have to cast it, I suppose. Just confirming there wasn't a spell I forgot about. I have to turn off auto yields. I think I did that for counterbalance again. My mistake. Back to basics wouldn't be very good right now, and it would reveal that I have it. I don't want them to play around it next game, assuming that we're going to game 3 right now. So I guess we can just wait, because we've got our land drop. We'll Omen of the Sea and step. Right now we can hardcast Force of Will as well. I guess it could be the Mindbreak Trap. It's not. Nice. Have we got it? 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Anything I would do differently? Do they have enough islands to make Carpet better than Utopia Sprawl? I don't think so, especially because turn 2 it could easily not fire. Like in the later game it's probably better, but we want the fast mana. I guess this shuts off the Thopter guy, but I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know if it's better than anything I've got now. Possibly Brainstorm, just because of Chalice, especially on the draw. It's possible. No, game 1 I don't think I played any counter magic, did I? So I think maybe they're reboarding for that. Most likely. Defense grids, perhaps. Keep it. Turn to Enchantress. No ability to cast the blue things, but very likely to draw that or green enchantments. Would I force a well turn Chalice this game? Guess I don't have to decide. I am going to lead off with that. There's an argument for holding it for Argothians, but it'll draw me into the ability to cast more enchantments to actually get the Argothians going. We do have more fetches in this build than normally. We're playing 8 fetches here. And again, 2 of the green fetches should probably be Vistas. How much are Vistas now? Since the cost is the main reason I'm not playing them. That's a fair bit. That's 25 tickets for the pair. See, I'm glad they're not playing around back to basics. I don't think there's any reason we have to play around that, or like counter that, I don't think. An early Gal can also help us prevent us from accidentally drawing our Emrakul, which is annoying when it happens. We'll go ahead and get the land, just in case something happens. Now, do we try to keep our counterbalance or our Omen? Omen is obviously a lot more castable, but will be abundant growthing anyway. Counterbalance could save us later on. So the question is, if I let this resolve, what do they do? Besides, go for a brain freeze, or I guess actually a grinding station. Eventually, they only need to run like 1 surgical extraction though to beat Emrakul, so I guess I can't let this, which they undoubtedly would have brought in, because I killed them with Emrakul. So I think I just have to counter this. I got a grinding station, none of a breach, okay. Ooh, intriguing. Alright, what have you got? This gets rid of 3. They use the 3 to get... They only got 2 to work with. Alright, let's see how this works. Should we have left in ground seal for surgical? Well, it would probably be an artifact, right? But how do they cast the second thing, right? I don't understand that. They didn't have themselves. Well, I guess it wouldn't take much to Karn, would it? So did they just move to the next? No, they're casting Karn, right? Should be saying waiting for him to pay costs, but I don't understand that. When we saw the Underworld Breach, we didn't bring in the Ferryman Cup and the Surgical. That was probably a mistake. Better than Counterbalance, maybe? But if they've got 10 mana, they'll need to find a card, right? Oh, I see. Okay, so they had a Force Will with their only copy of Brain Freeze. This doesn't actually have the ability to go infinite on its own. Because it's basically just like giving them the little bit of wiggle room to feed whatever they're bringing back. But they need to sacrifice an artifact for it. So they can't mill me. But I do think that was like, if my opponent had not sided out just like one copy of Karn, assuming that copy of Karn was not in the very bottom of the deck. Because if it was in the bottom of the deck, I could theoretically actually just deck them. But if it was not, then they would have had it. instead of Scion. I don't think... I mean, Scion's fine. Like, it's never a bad card, right? It draws cards, and it can create pressure, which we've established. So I'm going to be logging off here. I need to get ready for a teaching job and making dinner. But this list clearly has some problems playing to the board. I think Words of Wind is pretty weak in this build. We just don't have enough card draw to make it effective before quite late in the game. So I'll be siding that with, I don't know, a second Reality Acid might not be the worst. I kind of have liked Reality Acid. Not the games we played or that I've recorded here, but in other games it's been pretty good with Invocation, and it plays to the board, which the deck has problems with. Problem then is, like, well, first you could randomly lose to a Thought-Knot Seer, but I guess that's not the biggest concern. Even though I'll draw these Stompies becoming more popular again, it's still not that prevalent, and in theory you have Brainstorm or Force of Will to try to avoid that situation, even if you do have it in hand. Yeah, I do want to have another one at 3, though, because of Oko, Teferi, Council's Judgment are cards that I want to be able to counterbalance, so I don't want to lose all my 3 drops here. I mean, I guess I could have Enchantress's Presence, but I don't know how that would affect our blue count. Just like 1 presence. Does that make sense? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 20. That's a rather thin count, especially when you're taking some out in some matchups. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Probably either Reality Acid or Presence on the next go through. Counterbalance also, I don't know. Maybe the second one should be a sideboard card instead of main deck. Yeah. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Signing off.